Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video tour. This session is looking at the new version 5. This is part of the breakdown of the detail into the 10 areas. In session 1 we had a look at collaboration threads, search extensions and browser app extensions. And in this session we're going to have a look at multi-portfolio reporting and the idea management process. So let's crack on with that. Okay, so here I am in the main application. I will have a look at it first here and then in the browser, and I can come here and find a new type of report, multi-portfolio report. This is slightly different to the other sorts of reports. I mean, we have project reports which show project data, portfolio reports which show the data for a set of projects rolled up at the portfolio level, and this is taking the data from a set of portfolios, if you like, the outputs of the portfolio report, and rolling those up at a higher level. So it's a third tier, and lots of people will be using this for taking projects into programs, programs into a portfolio. Just need to make sure we're clear about that sort of language, or it might be projects into departments, departments into the organization. You can do whatever groupings you want to, but it's those three tiers of roll-up that's the important thing. Now normally, of course, within Project in a Box we're working on the current project or the current portfolio, but here, because it's a multi-portfolio thing, as part of the specification of the report, you choose the portfolios you want it to work across, and you can choose that from any of the available ones available to you in your personal list of permissioned portfolios. So different people will see different things. Saved reports will have a set of portfolios in them. If you don't have permissions to the ones in the saved report, they'll drop out of your list. So here we've got our 5 different department groupings, and we can choose then what goes into that report in terms of data, similar to the way we've done in other reports like a portfolio report, but it does have a few slight differences. So here we've got an area which focuses just on producing the Gantt chart for those portfolio level groupings. So it's taking the groupings of the projects into the portfolio, producing a single line for each of those, showing start and end, percentage complete, today's date, and then rolling those up into a set of tasks like that, or task bars like that, with an overall top level summary bar merging together those portfolios. So we can see that's in that. The view controls which columns we see and the ordering and things of that type. We then have areas for risk and issue management, and what this is doing, this is generating a summary table of the risks or the issues by category or by issue category, risk or issue category. So you choose the categories that you want, and it will group all issues of that type within a particular portfolio together into a block. So we're going to get some things that we see portfolio level, or we can get some things that we see. We can get some things we see at the organisation level, some things then grouped by portfolio. And we can switch these things on and off depending on whether we want to use them. So in this particular version of the report, I haven't got those switched on. And then we've got, if we just nip down to this one, project properties. This allows us to specify the properties that we want to see rolled up at various different levels. So if I drill down within this, we'll see that we've got the properties that we're interested in. Now this is again a variation from what we've done in the past at the portfolio level, where a property would only exist once. Now you can have the same property multiple times because you can undertake different operations on it. So the function, rather than just totaling it and summing it up, allows you to do a count if you want to, or a sum, or a first or last date, or a range of different operations. If we go in and have a look at those, we can see what those are here. So you've got a range of different ones. One of the particular ones is count of value. So here you see we can count, we've got status in 4 times, and we're counting the number of statuses where it's on track, the number of where it's an exception, completed, and we're then doing a count of all to give the number of projects in the portfolio. So when we see that grouped together into a table later on at the multi-portfolio level, we'll be able to see the breakdown of those type of project statuses between those portfolios. So you've got a lot of flexibility here about how you set this up, and when you're setting these up, you give not only your property a type of total, etc., but you can also give it a title, and that's then used when it goes into the multi-portfolio report. And over here on options, we can see we can choose the types of reports we're going to produce here, the types of tables into each report. So we can have, this is the multi-portfolio table, where the portfolios are shown as single lines, as totals, with a top level total at the bottom. We can do an all projects table where it gives us every single project it finds across all the set of portfolios as a single projects table with a total at the bottom, and we can also total by portfolios in an old portfolio report type way. So you get in sort of the best of both worlds here. You can choose which elements you want in each particular thing. Of course, as before, you can choose how you want to chart the various things, which properties you want to use, how you want to display it, etc. Of course, if you are using one of these multi-portfolio results tables, you'll be taking data from this and showing it in your final table. And again, you'll need to know how to treat this data. So if you might be counting the number of on-track status projects coming through to the portfolio, but when that's in the multi-portfolio table, the summary, the total you're going to want at the bottom of that is probably a sum. You're going to count the sum of those items. So again, you can drill into the next level up of tables view, and indeed you can see nearly everything here is being summed. The things that we're showing, these are the things we calculated at the level below. We're showing up here, we're now summing most of them. We don't have to sum them, we can use all the other different options as well, but often these things will be summed because it's that total you're looking for at the bottom of the table. This gives you really a very powerful capability to bring any stats you want to here and roll them up, and of course chart them, etc. And of course these are properties that are coming through from our planning regime, plans, risks and issues, etc. They're coming from your spreadsheets as you want them, they're coming from system project properties as you've set them up. So you've got a lot of flexibility about how exactly you run all this. You can also then drill into the standard project controls database and do your own different types of charts. So we've got some examples of that here. Here we're running a milestone summary, one of our new chart types. These are going to be run at the portfolio level. So let's have a run of this report and see what it looks like, and then we can drill through some of that data. So here we are. I'm running it to browser. Of course I can run it to Word if I want to. And here's my top level portfolio summary chart. So as we see, we've got the overall number of projects, number on track, number in exception, number completed across each of those particular portfolios, and then they're being totaled up, summed at the bottom as we were just discussing. I've got the benefits values, of course, coming from the projects underneath, rolling up to the portfolio summary level, and then rolling up to the very bottom. Number of risks, issues, overdue tasks, the risks total. So this is the sum of the value of each risk in each project, rolled up to the portfolio level, and then rolled up to this total level. So this is doing an awful lot of number crunching for me, the sort of things that people try and do in Excel currently and often struggle with, to quality to get it right. And if something changes, you've got to go back and readjust all your figures. You saw that do it very quickly for us. And we're then charting some aspects of this. And of course we can produce multiple charts into this report if we want to. Here I've got my percentage complete by portfolio that we were discussing earlier. I've got each of the portfolios showing its start and end, percentage complete, and then that's rolled up across the whole of the whole set of portfolios as well. So that's all I'm doing at the multi-portfolio level, if you like, because often people want that sort of entry level perspective on where roughly things are. Then we're drilling down. So here we've got each portfolio has its own area. So we've got Department for Employment Services, which is our first portfolio in the list. We've got the milestone summary, which is what I was explaining. This is giving me all the milestones out of all the projects and showing which ones are complete, overdue or on track across that timeline. And it's given me some data about them, and of course I've used a standard view to generate this, so you can do all sorts of things here in terms of Gantt chart type displays, milestones, calendars, filtering the data and showing the things that you want. So we've got that, and then I've got my properties table, the sort of first version of that we saw within the portfolio. So here I've got a bit more detail, so I can see which particular projects are exhibiting which statuses, what the various distribution of overdue tasks and costs and benefits are coming from each of those. I don't have to total everything up and send it to my next level up of table, but I can see that, and I can choose to chart something slightly different if I want to. So here I think we're charting the project risk level, which is the riskiest project in the particular portfolio. So we're doing that, then we run into the next program, or portfolio in this case, and we see its data, and then we run into the next one and we see its data, etc. Now of course, if you want to change these, to add and remove content, it's pretty straightforward. You just come back to here, you add an extra item into this list. You know, we always have a slight tension with this sort of reporting of wanting to standardize it as much as possible, because people want repeated comparable reporting. But then again, people also want to personalize these things. So having these saved reports that you can go to, get exactly the right thing, and you can, I've only got a few in this particular case, but I can generate some more things that I'm happy with and save those as specifications to come back to and use again and again. And that means I can then personalize these things without worrying about getting back to my standard again. So if I add the risks onto here like this and rerun that, that's going to add into each of my portfolio areas a risk analysis. So now we can see I've got risk distribution by category, and I can see some information here about operational risks, legislation, commercial, etc. So it's bringing me back, again, this is using a standard view, so it's bringing back filtered, so it's looking like it's only bringing back risks over a pretty high level. And we're seeing those with the risks and the responses shown in line, which is a new thing again in this version of reporting, being the ability to show responses for things in line next to the risks. So slightly different sort of report with some extra bits in, and I can go and switch those things on and off as I need them, play around with them to get what I want to say, and then save that. So multi-portfolio report, it's really quite a powerful feature for taking your data to that top level. Other things that are new in reporting, actually, we have some new types of project report provided as well. So project statement is a new one, and this generates what's aimed at being a single page summary of the current project. This is it running to Word. It uses Word macros to automatically colour the content based on the report based on its content, so it's colouring status here for me, and what I'm getting is description, commentary, an overall status, some percentage complete and progress to date data, statuses of my technical aspects, plan, risk, issue, finance, benefits, process status showing where we are through that project, some basic finance information, some dates. If we've got baselines, if we're running with baselines, we'll see baseline start and finish, and then we've got actual dates. We've got an indication of the project timeline, again using a view, and then using very simple views here, we're doing overdue tasks. So here's my rough timeline, these are the overdue tasks within it, these are my top 5 issues and risks that are not yet closed for this particular project. And then I've got a sort of benefit statement down in the bottom left, and that's my one-page summary of the project. It's about being digestible, easy to access, quick look at what's going on in the project. We of course still have our standard poster report, which is very popular and available here. So we've got project poster, let's do to print again. Slightly altered in that we've just taken advantage of the risk and issue responses in line. So the first page of that layout of that is exactly the same. We've got risk and issue charts, and then we drop into, rather than the risk and issue data being underneath each section, we've got that next to each other. So firstly we've got risks, we've got our risks and the responses information in line with it, rather than a separate table of responses underneath. And then we've got our issues with the response information in line. We're finding people are finding that much easier to pick up and tie the things together, having it in this format. Of course, even with a landscape format here, you know, you're not going to get two of these side by side without losing the ability to read it easily. And this is a big advantage of our reporting directly into Word. You can lay out how you want these things to be, what size paper, the arrangement of all that, etc. So that's a couple of changes on the reporting front. Let's go off and have a look at the ideas management process now as well. So I'm going to come and pick up a portfolio. So we're using portfolios here to collect and group together our projects. These are portfolios by rule, so I'm not manually choosing which projects that appear in each particular portfolio. Rules are running to determine which ones appear where. So here I've got a portfolio of all ideas, and I can see all the things that are classed as ideas. Some of them are selected, some are approved, some are still in an idea status, and we can see some basic information for them that's been collected. I'm using obviously a view to see a particular set of data, and I could change to various different views using the load view capability. So I can see some of them. Let's dive in and have a look at one of these ideas. When something's just an idea, it's shown pre-approval gate, if you like. So we've got just the project concept available. We can see there are some other processes built into this type of project, this methodology, but we're currently only seeing project concept. And in that area, we're just being asked to package up the information about the project, its idea. Is it going to be something that's worth doing for the organisation, etc. So we've got an idea form to fill in, we've got a place for collecting supporting information, doing some basic benefit management, and preparing a mandate. So in our idea information, we've got this sort of standard form. We can open it up and have a look at it if we want to. We're going to create a new idea in a minute and go through that as well. And it's asking us some basic questions. It's done as a spreadsheet, so because this means you can do your own one very easily, determining what it is that you want to collect information about your ideas. We've got a fairly standard sort of thing: description, why is the project required, is it mandatory, regulation wise, etc., what's required to deliver it, how long, roughly what cost, pessimistic, optimistic, etc. How does it match to our corporate objectives? Those sorts of things, the sort of things people usually ask in these circumstances. But because it's in a spreadsheet, you can change it. You change it for in your method, the spreadsheet that's there. You generate and export some new data from that, and that's picked up by the system. Whenever we check this file back in, the data is picked up. And that means I don't have to drill all the way down into the file to see that content. When I open this, I can do, idea statement. It'll go away and run again a new report, which gives me a quick overview of this idea. How is it matching up against our various categories? What's its overall score? Is it optional, mandatory? When was the information last updated? Some information about how it matches our requirements. So very quick to get to that sort of thing. Now if we want to go and create a new idea, the ideas have to be set up for us by somebody who has appropriate permissions to do that. So I can go and create a new project and select the appropriate method that I want. So we've got idea management. So I give it my name of the new project. I could start it with a name like idea 37 and then change that name into a more meaningful thing at some later date, but I'm going to do give it a name now because somebody's told me what it is they want it to be about. So we've got entry management system. Now I could add it to my portfolios now. It could be added by the rules at a later date, so we'll just drop that in there as we create it. Behind the scenes, it's creating all the information for the project should it become a project in the end. So when I come back here and we refresh our list, we'll find we've got entry management system here. Some of its data is being pulled through already. Some of these things haven't yet been, of course, filled in. And so come through, and not unsurprisingly, it looks just like the rest of them did. We've got our idea form where we can check it out and start putting some content in, and other places where we can add the information as we discussed. So let's check this out, add a couple of things, and then check it back in and see all that come through. So I'm going to give it some sort of description. I'm going to say that this is mandatory, and we're going to type in various texts in our various areas. So we've got the number of weeks, and is timing crucial? The answer is yes. It's got to be delivered by the 5th of the 7th, 17. And our likely mode of delivery is external with RPM, and we're expecting it to cost £60,000 and take 12 weeks, just by way of example. So we're filling all this sort of thing in. The person that's involved in this can give a recommendation of whether they think the project should, proceed, not proceed, proceed strongly, and of course you can change all these sorts of things. And we're getting some idea of how far we are through filling this information in that's required. It's creating the score sheet, which is going to be feeding the information we want and the data properties. So we save and close that. check that back in. That's all now fed into the system, and if I go and do my idea summary like we did earlier, I can see that information showing for me here that I've been filling in. So very easy to come and pick up the latest situation around those projects. I can do, if I wanted to, if I have portfolio access to this. Sometimes people just have access to the one idea. Other people have access to the whole portfolio of ideas, as I indeed do, and therefore I can look at the current ideas portfolio, and it's going to go away and wrap up some data for me around all of those ideas. This one's produced a Word, and it's showing me all of those projects. I can see the various scores for them, so I've got some sort of ranking idea, my status of them, and what proportion are mandatory, how the costs are looking, and totaling as well, in fact. So all those sorts of things, pulling together the sort of data I need to get a feel for where my portfolio is. Now if I want to turn one of these ideas into a project, I simply click on the turn idea into project. Now I have to have permissions to do this. Normal people just working on an idea can't do this. You need to be owning the portfolio to be able to access this sort of information. So I come in here and I can see the status of all the ideas in the portfolio. I can come and change this one. If I wanted to just show it as an idea, I could, like that, or I could say that it's been rejected. It's been partially selected, so it's one we're thinking of taking forward into a further set of analysis, or it's one we're actually approving. Now I'm going to actually approve it in this case, so we can see that when I save that, close the form down, when I come back and refresh, all I have to do is simply refresh by coming back to my pick my project again. We'll see now it's jumped out of its concept only phase. We've still got our same concept information we updated before, but now I've got start, deliver, close. I've got the rest of my project material ready for me to work on. We're not showing any gates beyond that first gate here, but you could have extra gates in your process if you wanted to. So we're gating the concept, the idea management, and then we're allowing people to work on through into the real content of the project later. And that's going to be set up with its own reporting and all the rest of that sort of thing. So the idea management process is about helping you through that process of gathering the ideas, and then you don't want to document them all in some other system and then create the project, and then it's like throwing everything over the wall. You've got to go away and find it all again. Here you're going to have within your project concept documentation all the notes and discussions that you had and evidence that you provided for the project, and you know what you said, how you ranked it, was it a good idea, how much was it going to cost. All that sort of thing is stored there as part of the project. Really useful when it comes to lessons learned at the end of the project, post-project reviews. You can go back and look at what you thought at the very beginning of the project. Grouping these sort of things into different portfolios allows you to come through and find all your various approved ones. As I say, we've got the ability to do these things by rule. So if I just run the portfolio rules, it'll go through and find me all the things that are approved. Some of these, we've got our new one we just added here, but we've also got a whole load of other things that have gone through this process and are now approved and operating as projects. So we don't have to go and find each one to do these bits of analysis. We can just use the rules built into the portfolios to go and get those things for us. Okay, that's quite a lot of those things from the Windows application. From the browser, same sort of things exist. Of course, we can access those projects and that documentation and work on it through the browser in just the same way as we would with any other documentation. We can also access the area to set those ideas up as well, to change them into projects. In the reporting dashboard here, we can see we've got a new category of multi-portfolio report. If I log in first. So in my dashboard here, I've got a new category of multi-portfolio report. Again, it shows me my saved portfolio reports. I can pick them up and create them here, and I'm going to get or create them in a new tab if I wanted to. Let's just roll that up, and I can see exactly those same things that we saw earlier. It's my same report. If the data's changed, of course I'll get latest data, but otherwise I'm getting this data here. I can do them to Word here as well and print them if I want to. So you can run those standard multi-portfolio reports from your browser on your smartphone if you want to. Setting up and customizing them in the way that we look through the form in detail is done from the Windows application, and that's the same dividing pattern that we normally do. Things that are day to day, running standard reports, working on documentation, etc., you can do from any device on any interface. If you want to do the more customized stuff, which to be honest tends to be done by administrators much more, that's from the Windows application only. Okay, so that's the end of session 2. In session 3 we're going to be delving into more of the planning aspects that are involved in the new version 5 release. Thank you very much.